welcome. Today we're going to be talking about first-time home buying. And my name is Dustin Fisher. I'm with Realty Executives. To my left is Greg Mathews with MIG. To my right is Dusty Jameson with Inspector Calusos. So today we're just going to be talking about the steps to home buying for you first-time home buyers. We have a lot of great information. These two guys are solid. They're good professionals. We've worked with them a lot, so we really recommend these to all of our clients. The first step, we've narrowed it down to 10 steps to buying a home. Step number 1 is a buyer consultation. What that means is contact your real estate agent first, talk to a real estate professional. There's a couple reasons for this. Reason number 1 is they have experience dealing with guys like these. They know who works well with other people. They know what to do. They know to talk to. Use their contacts. That is really important. So a buyer representative, first of all, you don't pay them. They get paid from the listing agent side. So this is a free professional, a free service for you. We've been doing this since 2016. We've represented several buyers, and we have not had one buyer pay us a single dollar. So every transaction, there's two sides. There's a buyer side and a seller side. When the seller, the listing agent, goes in and negotiates a contract with the person selling the house, they negotiate a commission into that. So the way the commission split works is we get paid from that listing agent. So the seller of the home is paying the listing agent. The listing agent is paying us. So this is a free service for you. So we always recommend talking to a real estate professional first. What we do at Realty Executives is we sit down with a buyer consultation. We have a short questionnaire. We find out what you're looking for, areas, what your needs are, what's important to you. And then we take that and we try to get you the best opportunity for exactly what you're looking for. At that point, we'll turn you over to Greg for a pre-approval, and I'll let Greg explain what the pre-approval looks like and kind of give you some options for what's out there for first-time home buyers. And I want to say we've been doing this for a very long time. We have worked with lots of mortgage professionals, and we have basically weeded a lot of people out. We found Greg. We love Greg. We work well with Greg. Greg is not a person that's going to put you into something because it makes him more money. Greg will seriously, he knows this is a relationship business, so he will put you in what the loan program that's best for you. Greg?
Thank you, Dusty. A couple of things we're going to go over. We're going to look at two processes. Number 1, when you've met with Dustin and Christina to your consultation, then they're going to have you call me and say, we want to get a pre-qualification. That process, what you're going to be doing, I'm going to be getting just personal and financial information. I'll be pulling your credit. Based on your credit score, your income, your debt-to-income ratios, any down payment that might be required, that's going to tell us then the price range for the home that you would qualify for. That's going to be that process starting now. If there's credit issues that we need to work on, we'll be doing that during the process too. But then once we have you pre-qualified, I'm going to get back with the agent and say we're good for $175,000, just throw something out. And then they're going to start looking for those houses. You then, once you find one, you're going to sign a contract on it. At that point is when your formal application is going to begin. And what I wanted to go over with that end of it is some of the do's and don'ts that you run into during that process. Some of the do's, when I get the application in, we get your interest rate locked in. I'm going to then send out a needs list, everything that I need to get the application going, such as tax returns, pay stubs, bank statements, all that. We'll email that list to you. It's very important that you have all that information together as quickly as possible and get that back to me. Delays on the front end of you providing information to me is going to delay the closing on the back end. So any documentation we ask for, be sure and get that to us as quick as possible. Number two is when we do ask for that information, or we have any questions, that you respond to us quickly. We're either going to email or call. You delay 2 or 3 days responding back to us with a question. Again, that's delaying that process. It's very important that we get that up front as quick as possible. Do properly document the sale of any assets that you have. We have people that maybe they're going to be selling a vehicle or something for the down payment. If that money is not in your bank account 60 days prior to the statements that we have to document where those funds came from. And so if you're going to be selling an asset, you've got a collection or something, or a vehicle or whatever, we have to document that. So you would need some type of a, whatever it is, evaluation on it. Vehicles are probably the most common we see. We get a Kelley Blue Book value of it, and that is just to make sure that it is an arm's length transaction, that it's not something that's going on behind the scenes. A friend or maybe the seller of the house is giving you a deal on that, making sure there's nothing going on illegal behind the scenes. As simple as it sounds, but you'd be surprised how often it does happen. Do stay current on your existing credit accounts, especially credit cards, whatever, anything you have like that. Just because you're going to be buying a new home and you've paid these on time before, don't stop paying them now. We monitor your credit from the day you start. We pull your credit and we have the application. Your credit's going to be monitored from that day until the day of closing. So if you miss a payment, we're going to know about it. You miss a payment, all of a sudden your credit score is going to drop 60, 80, 100 points, and all of a sudden you're out of qualifying for that loan again. So again, as simple as it sounds, stay current on all your accounts. Some of the don'ts. Don't deposit anything into your bank account other than payroll checks. Again, if you do, we have to document the source of that. One of the things that we see often, people have cash on hand. They just have it in a safe or under the mattress, wherever in their home, and they've been saving up to put that money in the bank to buy a house. Again, that money has to be sourced and seasoned. And what that means is the source is we have to document where it came from. Seasoned means it has to be in the account for 60 days before we can use it. I have had situations where somebody made a cash deposit. We could not document where it came from. Without that cash deposit, they didn't have enough money for the down payment. And even though their bank account shows they had that money in the account for the down payment, we couldn't use it. They couldn't buy the house. So be sure that during this process, your only deposits, if all possible, are just payroll. If they're not, then make sure you have the documentation of where that money came from. Don't open any new bank accounts or any credit card accounts. Again, a new bank account, you may just be transferring money from one account to the other, but that's just added documentation that we have to do. If you open a new account and you make a cash deposit into it, again, we can't use those funds. So be sure that you're not opening any new accounts. Don't open any credit card accounts. One of the biggest mistakes we see with a first-time home buyer, you've bought a new house, you've signed a contract, and you're going to closing in 30 days. A furniture place may have a sale going on, 0% financing on furniture on a new bed. A great deal. But you go and buy that $2,000 to $3,000 for that furniture, even though there's no payments showing for 12 months, we've been notified that you've opened a new account. We have to calculate a payment on that account now. Even though that you don't have anything scheduled for 12 months, we still have to calculate the payment. I have seen that knock people out with their ratios and not being able to buy that home. So do not open any new accounts. I tell people, don't even let anybody pull your credit during this time. There's times that it's a must, they have to, but if all possible, don't let anybody pull an account, pull your credit and open a new account. Don't make any major purchases during the process. Buying a car or boat or something like that. I kind of joke around with people and tell them, don't buy that new car during the process you're buying the home, or you maybe end up sleeping in that car. So be careful on major purchases during that time frame. Again, we have to document that, calculate the payments into the new payments into your ratios. That new debt might knock you out of being able to qualify where you did before. And don't quit your job or change jobs during the process. One of the biggest things that we see, you may be on a salary or an hourly employee and you have a great opportunity to go into sales. Full commission income, they're projecting that you're going to be making 3 to 4 times what you've been doing in the past. A great opportunity for you. However, if you go into a line of work that doesn't have a guaranteed source of income, whether you're working so many hours or you're on a salary, we have to have a 2-year history of that income before we can use it. And so even though you may go into this new job making 2 to 3 times what you were, I can't use that income now. So be sure that during this process, you maintain that job and try to, again, beforehand, if you're looking maybe in the near future, a negative that we see sometimes of people changing jobs often. If we see somebody has been in a job, 3 jobs in the past 12 years, or excuse me, the past 12 months, that does raise concerns about their stability and their employment. So you want job security, job stability, and staying on the same job during this time frame. With that, let's talk about a couple of some unique programs that are out there for a first-time home buyer. One of them is a THDA. And what that is, Tennessee Housing Development Agency, they offer a 5% down payment assistance grant. That money has a 0 interest and no payments. It is considered a second mortgage on your property. You do have to pay it back when you sell the home. But as long as you're in that home, you don't ever have to pay that money back. There's no interest on it. There are some income limitations on that for number of people in the household, and that can vary from county to county, but you can check, give me a call, we can go over where you're at, how many are in your household, and we can go over those income calculations. With that program, by the time you get your down payment assistance, a lot of times you walk into that house with nothing down. I have seen several instances where you pay for the appraisal up front. Let's say that's $450 and you pay $500 earnest money up front. When you get to the closing table, you'll get a check back for $950 for those expenses that you paid, because it does provide 100% financing. The other program is the USDA Rural Development. Another great program. One downside to it, as the name spells out, it is a rural development loan, and there are territories that loan, the house has to be located in. Again, it varies from county to county. Some counties, the entire county is. Some, they have some more strict guidelines. So again, get with me. I can go over where you're wanting to buy and see what's out there in that territory. I can tell you where those boundaries are. Between the two programs, my favorite is probably the rural development, but if you're not in a territory that is eligible, the THDA is a good program as well. Both of those, you have to have a minimum 640 credit score. So there again, that would be something that I'll be working with you on the front end, looking at those programs, looking at your credit score and seeing what you qualify both from a loan program and from the loan dollar amount. We'll be going over what the payments are, and hopefully you'll be comfortable with those. But during the process, you're going to have a lot of questions. And anytime you do that, don't ever hesitate to ask your loan officer, ask your realtor, anybody involved, because there's not a dumb question during this process. We've been doing this for a long time. Sometimes we may take for granted that you know or understand what we're talking about. So never feel like you have a dumb question when you're going through this process. From there, I'll give it back to Dustin.
So Greg, what I just heard you say is, if I have a 620 to a 640 credit score, I can get into a house with absolutely no money down.
Not a 620. You've got to have a minimum 640.
640.
But
okay.
Once you're at a 640, then yes, very possible you get into the home with no money out of pocket.
So I heard you say that I could walk away with a check at the closing table.
Yes. Where you have, with the loans being 100% financing, you're going to get credit for that earnest money that you pay up front and for the appraisal. And so when you get that credit, you go to the closing table, the title company is going to write you a check back for that money that you paid up front.
Do you hear this? You can buy a house with no money down. You just have to qualify. This is very important. First-time home buyers. Does this apply only to first-time home buyers?
No. The rural development, you just can't own another home at the same time. You can sell a home and go and buy and qualify for the rural development. The THDA does qualify, does require a first-time home buyer, but the definition of a first-time home buyer is that you have not owned a home in the past 3 years.
So no money down, people. You can get into a house for free. Come on now, a house for free. You can't rent a house and get into it for free, but you can own a house and get into it for free. So I know Greg, we talk all the time, and he had mentioned that he's done this for a while, and he is very knowledgeable, but I always joke, Greg has been doing this longer than I have been alive. How long have you been doing this, Greg?
35 years now.
35 years. I am 35, so he has been doing it as long as I have been alive. He knows his stuff. I'm telling you, no money down into a house. So once, Greg, you get all the paperwork taken care of, he walks you through your options, you kind of figure out what's best for you, he figures out what's best for you. We have a game plan then. Then comes the exciting part. We get to go look at houses. So we use what's called a multiple listing service. It is for the Knoxville Association of Realtors, which we belong to. And if your house is listed with a realtor, it is in this database. This is the database that Zillow pulls from. This is the database that Realtor.com pulls from. Trulia, all these places are pulling from this database. The trick is we get first access. Sometimes it takes a while for these other platforms to catch up with what's been listed. We don't have that. As soon as we want to look, we can pull up to see what's on there automatically. So what we do is we go into the MLS, we take your buyer questionnaire along with what Greg has said you're pre-approved for. We put those two together and we put the search criteria in. We go through that and then we set up that search, and then you're getting emails every 4 hours telling you what has hit the market. Every 4 hours you're getting updated. Fresh listings fed to you all the time. We'll show you what was on the market from the time that you wanted to start looking at a house until every new thing that comes on. Once you find stuff you want to see, you call us, we answer, we say, yes, we would love to go show you houses today. We schedule appointments and we're available all the time. So if a house comes on the market say it's 6 o'clock at night, you call us, you want to go see it at 6:30, we're going to do our best to make that work for you. So we'll start looking at some houses. You can kind of get a feel of what's out there, see what's in your price range. Then we go from there. You find the house you love. You walk in, you know it, it smells great, it looks great, the colors are exactly what you want. This is the house for you. So we sit down, we put in an offer. What that is, it's some paperwork we go through, say this is what we're going to pay for the house, this is what we want. Then we submit that to the listing agent, which represents the seller. At that point, we enter into negotiation, which is my favorite part. I love negotiating. So we say we're going to pay you $150. They say no, we want to sell it for $160, and then we go back and forth a couple times, and then of course, being a great negotiator, we always win. Everybody wins, so everybody walks away happy. Once we have an accepted offer, Greg had mentioned an earnest money check. So what this is a way for you, the buyer, to show the seller that you're serious. So what they require is an earnest money check. It's usually $500 to $1,000, depending on the price of the house. So you would write a check for $500 to $1,000, and then we would hold it at our real estate company in escrow, which that means we hold it as a third party, so no one else can touch it. And then if for some reason you back out of the contract for no good reason whatsoever, not acting in good faith like you had said you would do in the initial purchase and sale agreement, the seller gets to keep that. This really protects the seller. Since 2016, we have never had a buyer lose an earnest money check for doing something they weren't supposed to. So it's really just a little guarantee that you're not just going to wait till closing day and back out, because that takes away from the seller who's trying to sell their house. Their house is off the market for a couple months. They really lose time and money, and everybody loses in that. But we don't have to worry about that because we're going to keep everything above table. Everything's going to be good. So this is not a big issue, I promise. We've been doing this since 2016 and we have never had an issue with this. Once we get an accepted offer, we are now in contract. Now we have some things to take care of. First thing we always do is home inspections. And here to talk about home inspection is my good friend Dusty. Dusty is with Inspector Caluso's. So for the younger generation, who is Inspector Caluso?
Inspector Caluso, he's part of the Pink Panther, Peter Sellers.
Oh, yes. The Pink Panther. Okay, all right. So you take it and give us a rundown of what is in a home inspection.
Yeah, so basically with when you sign the contract, most contracts are going to have an inspection period. Usually that's going to range anywhere from 5 days, maybe up to 2 weeks possibly. Most inspection contingency periods that I see are about 10 days. So for those 10 days, you've got a window where you can get anybody in to inspect what's there. I'm a home inspector. I'm going to do, and basically the way that we operate is we try to take care of any inspection that you might need. Termite, radon, septic inspections, anything that could potentially go wrong with that house, we want to come in and look at it. And we're an unbiased party. We don't do any repair work. We're not going to be there selling you any services other than I can check that out for you. But during that period, we come in and we check it out. We tell you what's there, what's going wrong. How old is your roof? How old is your heating and air equipment? Is anything not working? If something's not working, we're going to document it, and then we let Dustin take it from there. And basically, you sit down and you go over this list. And the way I always phrase it is, you have three options basically once you get an inspection performed. You can say there's things at this house and I don't want it. I want to back out. I just want to walk away from it. That's one option. Your other option is, hey, everything looks good. Let's proceed. Prices are fine. We don't need to negotiate anything. That's another option. Usually the last option is what everybody does, which is say, I still want to purchase the house, but there's a few things that we found that are wrong. The heating and air equipment isn't working. We need to talk with the seller and try to renegotiate that. So you will sit down with Dustin. You guys will figure out what things you can negotiate, what you can't. You'll send over a repair request addendum to the seller, they're going to say yes or no. They're not required to fix anything on my list, but at least you're informed about it and you can make that informed decision from there. So that's pretty much the inspection process. We get in within that 10-day window. We give you all of that information back, and then we present it to you and let you guys take it.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm getting excited over here. He mentioned negotiation at least 3 times. So we already have established that's my favorite part. So if someone wanted more information about Inspector Clouseau's, how would they get that?
Google it. No.
Google Inspector Clouseau's.
Inspector
Clouseau, the Pink Panther,
right?
And then you have to go down from there.
Yeah, Inspector Clouseau Knoxville. You can Google search my name. You'll probably find Inspector Clouseau stuff. So we're online, Facebook, Instagram, all of those avenues.
Good, awesome, thank you. So now we have had the inspection period. So we have got you pre-approved. We have an accepted offer, so we're in contract. Then the inspection. So Dusty had mentioned the inspection period, which is a negotiation period. And then from that, we have a resolution period. So once you have all the inspections done that you want, you can have people quote things that need to be fixed. And as he mentioned, we go back into negotiation, say, well, this outlet in the 3rd room doesn't work. We want you to fix it. Those are the kind of things we work out then. So we want you to move into a house you feel comfortable with, that you're not going to have a lot of work to do unless you're a handyman and want to do work, and then we're going to put you in one of those, a fixer-upper. So, I mean, this has really been walked through for you to make sure that you're protected. This is for your protection, so you know what you're buying. There is no used car lot, sour lemon car that you're getting that's going to fall off. You know, you go in as an informed buyer, you know exactly what's wrong with the home. This really, really protects you. So once we get through that phase, then we have the negotiation, everybody's happy, we've come to terms, it's really time to get to work. So this is where Greg kind of steps back in, which Greg and I are working behind the scenes all the time to make sure we're hitting timelines that are in the contract, and make sure you're getting all the paperwork turned in you're supposed to. So we really walk closely with our clients through this, especially first-time home buyers. So once that gets back, we tell Greg that everything is good, we're going to proceed, we're going to go ahead, and then he'll order what's called an appraisal. Now, I'll let Greg explain more about the appraisal. Go ahead, Greg.
All right, Dusty has been talking to you about a home inspection. I'm going to be talking to you about an appraisal. These are 2 different things. The inspection is going over the quality of the home, some things are wrong there. The appraisal is more of the value of the home. Now, as a mortgage lender, we don't require the home inspection, but we do highly recommend that up front. Normally, we don't order our appraisal until after the home inspection has been done. That way, the money that if something comes up in the inspection that you decide you don't want to buy this home, then you've not lost that $450 that the appraiser went out to do that. But once you have accepted the home inspection, we're going to order the appraisal. Now, what they're going to be doing is looking in the community around and seeing, is this home worth what you're paying for it? They're going to be looking at sales that have happened in the very recent past. Typically, they want to keep them within a 6-month time frame, and generally speaking, no more than about a 5-mile radius. Most of the time, they're even tighter than that, especially in a subdivision. It may be homes within that subdivision and maybe an adjoining subdivision, but they're going to be looking at properties similar to what you have that meet the same guidelines and see what they sold for. Ideally, the house has been listed close to its value in there, and that's not an issue. Now, we do have occasionally where the appraisal came back short, and Dusty talked about options with the home inspection. You have those same options that you can negotiate. Dustin, you can get you excited.
Negotiation.
Yeah.
The word of the day is negotiation.
Really. But if that home comes in a little bit short, you've got 3 options there. Again, number 1, you can say, no, I'm not going to buy it. Number two, you can say, yes, I'm going to buy it, but I'm going to pay the difference between the appraised value and the purchase price, because as a lender, I'm going to be basing my loan off of the lesser of the two, either the appraised value or the purchase price. So if you want to buy that house still and it's $2,000 short, you would have to come up with that extra $2,000. But in this situation, again, what's commonly happens is the agents get back together and try to renegotiate that price down to the appraised value. The other thing we see with the first-time home buyer programs, the houses have to be in very good condition. You can't buy a home that you want to do a lot of maintenance or a lot of work on, a fixer-upper. It's not going to happen with these first-time home buyer programs. They're very strict on what they require, what they will allow. That's where a lot of times going in with the home inspection, we already know in advance that these are some things that's going to have to be addressed because the appraiser is going to see these too. Some common things we see that have to be required are maybe handrails on a steps where the steps may be too high, the porch may be too high off the ground, requires railing. You have chip paint. On the outside or the inside, you could have some potential problems there. Holes in a wall that could be close to electrical wires, that could be a health issue. Holes in the carpet or tile missing. Health and safety issues are primarily what they're going to be looking at. Again, that's different than what the home inspector did. He's getting a little bit more detailed into this. The appraiser is looking more at some cosmetic stuff. So hopefully all that is resolved and you settle in, we have an appraisal that is as is, the value is there, and we're good to go from that value.
Thank you for that. So a couple things. First of all, I feel like I should recap and kind of talk about how I said 0 to no money down. 0 to no money to buy a house. But you have to understand up front, you're going to have a little cash in the bank to do this. So you're going to have to pay your earnest money check, which we talked about. You're going to have to pay for a home inspection, which Dusty talked about. And then you're going to have to pay for an appraiser, which Greg just talked about. Now, you had mentioned that some of the stuff can be refunded, but you're going to have that money up front. So just keep that in mind. I got a little excited for a house for free, which when you really think about it, you're still getting in for a lot cheaper than you could put a deposit on renting a place. Mm-hmm. Plus, it's yours. You're not paying someone else's mortgage and they're making a profit off from you. This is yours. So we're really strong advocates for home buying because owning a home is the quickest way for a person to build wealth. Mm-hmm. You're paying down your mortgage. So what you owe is coming down. Appreciation from where market values are going up, so your value is going up. It's the only place where you can pay down a loan from somebody else's money that you borrowed, but bake money on your interest in the house because the home value is going up. That's why I love real estate so much. That's why I'm so passionate about it. Now, up until this point, we've covered a lot. We've tried to simplify it in 10 steps. We are actually just finished step 8. We have 2 more steps and then we'll be wrapping up. So step number 9 is the final walkthrough. We've done all the paperwork. Everything's ready. We're 2 days before closing. We're getting ready to go through, make sure all the negotiation repairs are taken care of, make sure the house is in the same condition it was, if not better, than when you first put the offer in on. This is your opportunity to go in and make sure that you're still buying what you agreed to buy. It's a perfect opportunity to figure out where you're going to place furniture. But you're going to wait until after closing to go buy your new furniture and car. So let's just keep that in mind. So up to this point, it's been about 3 weeks from start to where we're at, maybe 4 weeks, depending on how a couple of things have worked out. Normally, we can close a house. When we write a contract, the Fisher Home team puts contract dates out 45 days till closing. We can usually close a little quicker than that, but it's always easier to ask to close early than it is to ask for an extension, because everybody's based their timelines on the person that's selling you their home is most likely buying another home and moving. So they're trying to coordinate all this stuff. Easier to close early, harder to close later. So we set out 45 days. Normally we can close 35 to 40 days, depending on how quick we push Greg. Greg is a determining timeline in all of this. So get your paperwork turned in, do what you're supposed to, and then if you want, you can send him flowers, chocolates, coffee, cards, whatever you want to get him moving faster, but we'll get it done. Finally, all this work has been done. It's about 35, 40 days later, it's closing day. So we meet at a title company, we sit down and we sign a bunch of papers about this thick. You've got title papers, you've got county papers, you've got mortgage papers, you've got a lot of papers. It can be really overwhelming, but the good thing about, I will be in the room with you, Christina can be in the room with you, Greg can be in the room with you. I mean, I'm sure we could even call Dusty. We could get Dusty in the room with you. That makes you feel uncomfortable. It makes you feel more comfortable. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of behind the scenes stuff, but we're here to get you through all of this. From step 1 to step 10, we'll have you in a home, 35, 45 days. There's different programs we can do. You've heard a lot of good information. So I just want to thank Greg for being here. Thank Dusty for being here. These are two good guys. We've worked with them a lot. We recommend them first above anybody else because we trust them. And we really take serious who we recommend because it reflects us. Mm-hmm. If we recommend someone bad to you and they do a poor job, guess who gets blamed? This guy. And I don't like getting phone calls because the inspector missed something and now you're sitting in a flooded basement and wanting to know why it was missed. So I promise, we take pride in vetting the people we recommend. These two guys are it. Greg, if somebody wanted more information about you, how would they get that?
Best way is to call my cell, 865-659-4883. That is, I take calls. I tell people from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days a week.
Perfect. 7 days a week, 8 a.m. And I've called him late before. Trust me, we panic too. So thank you for joining us. Again, I'm Dustin Fisher, and you can contact me at 865-773-7458. Thanks for joining us.